Happy Fat Tuesday. Okay, that's what Mardi Gras means, Fat Tuesday. It's the day before Ash Wednesday. It's the last day of the Carnival. 1700s, 1 year later, he moved further west, found a nice piece of land located between a lake and a river and called it the Ile de Nouvelle Orleans, the island of New Orleans. Now this Indian suit is the Wild Man from the 0017 Mardi Gras Indian tribe. We've got about 30 Mardi Gras Indian tribes here in New Orleans. The Yellow Pocahontas, the Red Flame Hunters, the Wild Magnolias. It's a very colorful, interesting part of our Mardi Gras. You can always tell the Wild Man because the Wild Man has the horns and because it says Wild Man on it. Now, this is a tradition. A lot of the traditions of our carnival started in the late 1800s, okay? It's a European holiday. We gave it our own twist over here. It was in the late 1800s that there were some Buffalo soldiers that had been out west. When they came back to New Orleans, they began masking as Native Americans on Mardi Gras Day. These were African men wanting to pay tribute to the Native American warrior spirits. High-tech special effects.
Yep.
Okay, you've heard of the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot. Well, we have one of those here. He's called the Rougarou. Now, this particular Rougarou, you find the Rougarou out in the swamps. This one is called Moss Man. His real name was Chad. Back when I had a costume shop on Dauphine Street, I gave him an old Army ghillie suit, it's called, this camouflage suit. And over the years, he decorated it real pretty. And he was a regular fixture on Bourbon Street. And we had to clean the costume really good. Cleaned it with alcohol. Been out there for 20 years. All right, we're going to go west of New Orleans. Out there in the Cajun country. Now, when you go west of New Orleans, the people, they still speak French out there. And we make our costumes out of these old raggedy material. Look at that. And we make a mask out of a screen door. And what we do on Fat Tuesday is we ride around to all the farmhouses, gathering up the ingredients for, anybody know? Gathering up the ingredients for the gumbo. Y'all tried the gumbo?
Yeah.
That's good. You know, in the gumbo, you got the shrimps, the crabs, the crawfish, and the chicken. And on Fat Tuesday, the old farmer, he throws the chicken up in the air. When the chicken hits the ground, we all pile down trying to catch the chicken. Now, I don't know if you ever tried to catch a chicken, but you get covered head to toe with mud by the end of the day. But that's how we know that we passed a good time. Or as we like to say, laissez les bon temps rouler, which means, anybody? Laissez le bon temps rouler.
Let the good times roll.
Très bien. She got it right, yeah. Let the good times roll. Okay, répétez. Laissez. That means to let. Le bon temps. That's the good times. Rouler. That means to roll. You put it all together, it's laissez le bon temps rouler. Très bien. Now, if you forget it, it's written on the side of every one of our RTA buses. Okay, I see we got a little child out there. Now, I don't usually tell this story, but I'm going to tell the story about the mama crawfish and the baby crawfish. Mama crawfish, baby crawfish out there walking in the mud. Suddenly, the baby crawfish stopped. He said, "Mama, what's that?" She said, "That's a frog. Now, you don't need to worry about the frog." They commenced to walking, and the baby crawfish stopped. He said, "Mama, what's that?" She said, "That's a cow, and you don't need to worry about the cow." They go back to walking, and suddenly the mama crawfish, she started running, and the baby crawfish said, "Mama, what you running for?" She said, "That's a Cajun, and they eat everything. Thank you, Old Cajun Joe. Boudreaux. All right, a beautiful costume recently donated by the friends of a guy named James Ancal. James loved his carnival. He was the king 3 times for the crew of Aquila, one of our many carnival crews. Okay, we have about 200 carnival crews. No relation to Carnival Cruise Line. Okay, it's spelled with a K. The crew of Endymion, the crew of Bacchus, the crew of Druids, the crew of Chaos, the crew of Nyx, crew of King Arthur, and so forth. All of these carnival crews elect new royalty, and about 60 of them do parades. So we have about 60 parades during Carnival. A beautiful costume from the crew of Pegasus. Now, every year, each crew picks a different theme. They have to paint all the floats, the invitations, the posters, everything to do with the ball is new every year. As you can see, this year, they were doing Under the Sea, Under the Sea, Under the Sea. And look, a mini-me. He was a nice guy. The costume maker made a little mini-me. Now, we do have a king of carnival. His name is Rex. His name is Rex, and Rex is the last parade of the carnival season. It takes place at 10:30 a.m. on Fat Tuesday. That's the last organized part of the carnival, and everything gets busier and busier, and more parades and more parties the closer you get to Fat Tuesday, the big day. Now, there were 2 things that started in 1872. That was the year that Rex came along. The official theme song to the New Orleans Mardi Gras. If ever I cease to love, if ever I cease to love, may the moon be turned to green cream cheese. If ever I cease to love. And the official colors of the New Orleans Mardi Gras, they debuted in 1872. Purple, green, and gold, which stands for justice, faith, and power. So what was going on in 1872 was that the business leaders decided that the carnival could become a tourist attraction. And people would come from all around to see the New Orleans Mardi Gras. So they said, you know what? Instead of being sort of disorganized and a lot of debauchery at night, let's make it family friendly. Let's have a daytime parade. Let's call him the King of Carnival. And that is how Rex was born. The significance of the song, there was a visiting Russian diplomat, and he was on a world tour. Before he came to New Orleans, he went to St. Louis, where he fell in love with a chanteuse in a vaudeville show. And the song she sang was, If Ever I Cease to Love. Well, the people in New Orleans, they have a nice sense of humor. They brought the lady down here, there she was, and they had every band learn her song, and they played it when they walked past the reviewing stands. And to this day, every band plays that song, and they decorated everything in the colors of the gentleman's court, which was purple, green, and gold. So they were just decorative in the first year, but they've come to mean faith, justice, and power. This thing here, that's called a Medici collar. Have you ever heard of the Medici family? Medici, yeah. They were a wealthy Italian family from Florence, Italy, and they liked to show off their wealth. They were kind of like the Kardashians. Now, the right way to make a Medici collar in New Orleans is wire work. Underneath all this, it's wire, okay? Covered in fabric, decorated with mirrors and jewels, and lots of feathers. This is an ostrich plume, comes from an ostrich. Now she is the 2017 queen of the 9 times Social Aid and Pleasure Club. Another invention of the late 1800s, your Social Aid and Pleasure Clubs. Similar to a carnival organization, these were called benevolent societies. To assist the African American community, New Orleans came up with this idea of putting a clubhouse in every neighborhood. It was called a Social Aid and Pleasure Club. They were instrumental in helping to create The jazz funeral, a New Orleans invention. It's in two parts. It's an African burial ritual. The first line is the slow, sad procession carrying the body through the streets. Just a closer walk with thee. That's your first line, and that's followed by your second line. Your second line is where everybody in the neighborhood joins in the parade. They start waving their napkins and handkerchiefs. The band starts playing happy music. I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away. Nowadays we use that second half for all kinds of celebrations. I'm gonna give this to my buddy. I think I need a new battery.